Hello, All Access community, and Happy New Year. I am Lauren Huberman.
And I'm Christina McLean. Welcome to All Access.
It's great to be back in the recording studio for another year of stories and conversations around Chicago's great disability community.
Yes, we have an exciting lineup for you this year and hope to share some topics that you find interesting, but thought we would start 2024 off with some interviews with our MOPD Career Center team.
We have a really good Career Center team, and the Career Center was opened on July 26th, 2022, which is the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yeah, and since that time, we've supported over 200 job seekers who've come to Central West Community Center at 2102 West Ogden on a variety of different employment-related and professional development skills. So we are really lucky to have a very strong team. Lauren, of course, leads that team and was our first hire at the Career Center.
Yes, I feel very fortunate to be part of the Career Center team and part of MOPD. And I've been very fortunate to work with our dynamic career placement counselors, who you will hear from in just a bit, as well as our American Sign Language interpreter and our longtime staff member, Jocelyn, who provides benefits counseling for the department.
Yeah, we hope through this interview you get a chance to learn a little bit more about the work we do at the Career Center. We do a lot more than just help people find jobs. There's a lot of different activities that we promote and plan for job seekers, as well as a lot of opportunities for employers to connect with us to help make their organizations more inclusive, as well as a lot of partnership opportunities for our community partners.
Yes, and all of our services, of course, are free, and we make them as accessible as possible so that anyone is welcome and anyone can take advantage of our information, resources, and services.
Yeah, we don't ask too much from our job seekers who come to the Career Center. Well, like Lauren said, want to reduce barriers to our services. Individuals who live in the city of Chicago who are at least 16 years of age and identify as having a disability are welcome to contact us to learn more about the different services we can provide.
Well, we are looking forward to the conversations that we're going to have with the Career Center team, and we really hope that you enjoy.
Yeah, we're excited. We have worked closely with them to develop the Career Center and roll out our services in year one, but we know that we're going to learn a lot more about them through this conversation and hope you do too.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Romasanta, and I have been working for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities since 2002. So this is going to be my 22nd year and doing the same thing I have been doing that they hired me back in 2002.
And what's that?
I provide benefits counseling to individuals who receive SSI or SSDI. These are benefits that an individual with disabilities can get from Social Security.
That's great. And who usually do you sit with or work with to do this benefits counseling? What's a typical job seeker or client?
The ones that I do benefits counseling for are the individuals, like I said, who gets SSI or SSDI, and they are so afraid to go back to work, thinking that, you know what, I want to work, but the last thing I want to do is lose my benefits because they heard from their friends, their neighbors, you name it, they heard it from other people. And so what happened is the individuals that they work with, like an employment specialist, like some of our Career Center counselors, they would refer their clients to me to alleviate those fears, because it is not true that when a person goes to work that they're going to lose their benefit. There are stages. And I always tell the individual it's always good for them to work because they're always going to end up with more money. And it's not true that if they stop working that they're going to have to reapply all over again. That is not true.
So what type of questions do you ask someone if they're coming in and they want benefits counseling?
The first thing I ask them is which benefit they're getting. Sometimes, unfortunately, they don't know which benefit they're getting. So we have to break it down. I usually ask them, do you get your Social Security check on the 1st or the 3rd of the month? And then we move on from there. The questions that I always get is, how much money can I earn without affecting my benefits? I tell them, and I also do a calculation to give them an example. If you were to earn this much per hour, this is how many hours that you can work, and this is what's going to happen to your benefits. Or I could have someone that just started working and they're like, oh, I don't know if I made a mistake of going to work because now I'm afraid that Social Security is going to say, you are able to work, so therefore we're going to take your benefit away. That's not true. The only thing that they need to remember when dealing with Social Security is letting Social Security know how much money they make each month, because that's all Social Security is asking for. Just let us know how much money you make so that way we can record how much money you make and update your record.
And so, Jocelyn, it sounds like you really work one-on-one with people to help them understand this complicated process.
I work with individually, or I also do a presentation. We have been partnering with other community agencies, and I do group presentations for them.
What are some of the things that you enjoy most about your role?
I think what I enjoy most is meeting new people.
So what advice would you give job seekers or anyone listening who has any concerns or fears about their benefits or how it would impact?
I would tell them to connect with the mayor's office for people with disabilities, and I will answer all their questions and alleviate any concerns that they have, because the message here is don't be afraid to go back to work, because it is not true that you're going to lose your benefits.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn. Thanks for being here. I know that your work has impacted a lot of people's lives and alleviated a lot of those concerns for people, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest who is here with us today is our American Sign Language interpreter, Esteban Amaro. Esteban, welcome. We're thrilled that you're here with us today.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role at the MOPD Career Center?
Sure. So I am the sign language interpreter that's mostly works at the Career Center, but I also provide interpreting services for other city departments or other city events. And I've interpreted the podcast before.
Yeah, Esteban is on camera. He's the one providing the excellent interpreting for our podcast for each episode, making sure that it's fully accessible.
And why was it so important that MOPD built your role in the Career Center? Like, is that common?
I feel it was important just because communication on the spot is very important. And usually people who are deaf tend to be told the common phrase of, oh, we don't have communication access for you at that time, so please come back either a week or 2 weeks from now. And just having me be there on staff, it helps anyone that like a walk-in, or if they have any kind of urgent question, I could help them. My parents, they do not have a hearing loss, but they didn't speak English. We're of Mexican descent, so communication has always been important for me growing up. So then it was kind of like a natural segue for me when I started this career. It's just always good to include communication, which is not always on the top of the list. Usually people just assume there is communication, and then isn't until they experience that there is not, they're like, oh, well, we didn't think about this. So usually it is like an afterthought. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm glad that Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities was like, no, we're going to make sure that that's not a afterthought.
And how do you become a sign language interpreter? Like, what kind of training or education did you go through?
So here in the state of Illinois, you are required to have a license to become a sign language interpreter, which the minimum requirement, I believe, is a bachelor's degree, and also have some kind of national certification or credentialing.
What do you really like about your job and working at MOPD?
I like the teams. I'm part of more than one team. So the Career Center, then we have the Communication Access team, which is that part of the team does the case events, the inaugurations, press conferences. I like to go back and forth between both. I also like the team, the whole team that I work with, my bosses.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, Esteban, thanks for being here with us.
All right, thank you.
It's been great to talk to you. I know that your work has impacted a lot of people, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to transition over to our career placement counselors to learn a little bit more about their work at the MOPD Career Center. We're lucky today to have with us Johanna McMahon.
Hi.
Hi, Johanna.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us.
No problem.
Johanna is one of our 5 career placement counselors who works at the MOPD Career Center. Can you tell some of our listeners or viewers a little bit about what you do in your role as a career placement counselor?
Certainly. So as Christina and Lauren mentioned, my name is Johanna, and I work with for other career placement counselors, and my role in the Career Center is to assist individuals that identify with having a disability. It doesn't matter what the specific disability is, but definitely need to identify with having one. And I work to assist them with resumes, cover letters, assistance around employment exploration, things of that nature.
Johanna, can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of people or the kinds of job seekers that you work with in your role?
Sure. So as we all know, everyone's different. And I've worked with a variety of different individuals that may have a lot of different skill levels, or some may be unsure kind of what career path they're interested in. So there's a very broad range. I would say some have a lot of professional skills in terms of like level, and then some are new. And so it varies. I would say no one's alike.
So you mentioned some of the career readiness activities that we do with job seekers. I'm curious, what's your favorite? What's your favorite thing to work on with someone?
My favorite is doing mock interviews. And I would say the reason I enjoy doing mock interviews is because it allows, one, you to see an individual be their authentic selves and allow there to be room for improvement, along with getting, some feedback from myself or maybe another colleague to assist with how they can make their interview process a bit smoother. And I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. And I know that you play a large role in our mentorship program.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. So me and a colleague participated in running the MOPD mentorship program last year. It's wild to think that we're already into another year. It was a really neat thing. We assisted matching, I would say, I think we had about 12 individuals that were interested in being mentors, and then similar in terms around the mentees. So we connected the mentors and the mentees based off of kind of whether it be skill or whether it be kind of around experience in terms of the fields they were interested in. We really worked hard, me and my colleague, to make sure, along with Lauren and Christina, to make sure that we were matching these mentees and the mentors up accordingly. And some of the things that took place in the mentorship were, for example, I have one individual that I've been working with. She was very interested in kind of getting more exposure around theater, and one of the mentors was able to collaborate with me and my other coworker around some different places that she could kind of check out. And then from there, we were able to kind of navigate based off of that information a bit more around her resume and tailor certain things so that she would have a bit more of an outcome with looking at theater roles. So it was really great.
Yeah, it's a great program. You've done an excellent job.
Yeah, I think it's important that we, collaborate with our employer partners or our community partners to maybe fill in gaps that we don't have as much experience in, like theater. That's a certain approach to how you find a job. So
Yes.
I think it's important that we understand how important mentors are to us in all different phases of our careers.
I would imagine both the mentees and the mentors learned and benefited from the relationship.
Yes, 100%.
So I know there's a few ways you could become a career placement counselor, but can you talk to us a little bit about your education and your journey to MOPD?
Certainly. Growing up, I had an amazing family that was always really supportive and really open to helping others. And I think I just kind of took that career path. I myself got my master's in social work and my undergrad as well in social work. And I spent about, it's wild to think, 5 years in the employment service role. And I have always been really passionate about working and advocating specifically for those that have disabilities, because I understand and I know as a society the impact of those that are living with their own disabilities or experiencing, discrimination, the importance of having people to advocate and be supportive. And so I just kind of felt that this was the career I wanted to take, and it makes me really happy.
Well, thank you so much, Johanna. Thanks for spending time and sharing about your experience.
Thank you both.
So now we're here with another one of our career placement counselors. Will, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Christina and Lauren.
We're excited to talk to you a little bit about your role and would like if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do at MOPD and the Career Center.
Sure. My official title is Career Placement Counselor. What I do is I help clients as long as they are over 16 years old, a resident of Chicago, and identify as having a disability. They are qualified to work with me, and I will help them with resumes, cover letters, their job search, providing job leads, helping them with applications when needed, and preparing for interviews. And then, of course, once they get the job, sometimes that's the hardest part, is keeping it. I provide support in several different ways with keeping the job.
What do you like the most?
I just like getting to know the different clients. They all kind of pose different challenges for me as a counselor. They're such unique personalities. Everyone's a little different.
So it sounds like you work with people who may have, multiple barriers and facing challenges outside of just their disability. Can you talk to us a little bit about someone you helped in that situation?
Yeah, sure. I actually have a client who really wanted to work, was showing up at my office almost every week we were meeting, but after a month or two of that and a fair amount of rejection from various employers in various fields, she was starting to wonder and question if she really could find employment. And just knowing her skills and her personality, I knew that there was something there for her. I can't force anyone not to give up or to keep trying to find a job, but I urged her as much as I could to keep going. A little after that, maybe still another month or two, if not even a little more, she was hired. She started getting more interviews, and then she got a great job at a water reclamation plant. I don't want to give away too much information, but at a water reclamation plant, she's going to be a lab assistant. She's been very gracious and thankful, reminding me how much she wanted to quit and give up on the job search.
It was great to see her come into the Career Center and come to see you and celebrate that win, because that was huge. And the two of you obviously have good rapport and a really great relationship, and so you definitely kept her, plugging along and encouraged her.
I think her personality was something that helped me know that she was going to find something. It's a very positive, friendly, upbeat, funny personality, and I knew, along with her qualifications and her experience and her education, there was a job out there for her, even when she didn't believe that.
That's awesome.
So we know a big part of the Career Center is working with individuals with disabilities on some challenging topics such as disability disclosure and requesting reasonable accommodations. Can you talk to us about some best practices or some ways that you've assisted people with disabilities in this area?
Yeah, I think the biggest key is just facing the fact that, in some cases at least, you may need an accommodation to be successful at a job. If the accommodation isn't completely essential, then I really think it's up to the client and their preference as far as if we need to ask for something. But if it's something they're absolutely going to need to do their job, I just stress the importance of that, and I know some clients can be hesitant to ask for anything from especially in a potential employer who they're not trying to upset or cross in any way. I know that can be an awkward thing. The reality is the employer wants the new employee at their best, and that means providing them with anything within reason that will help them be the best they can be at the job. And so usually when I explain that to clients, they get that, and clients don't want to be in a position where they're struggling at their job, especially if it's only because they don't have what they need to be successful.
We also have with us today Jeannie McGill, who is another career placement counselor with our MOPD Career Center. Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Jeannie, can you talk a little bit about what you do in your role as a career placement counselor?
Yeah, so I work directly with clients to get to know them, their career goals, and I help to assist them in any areas when it comes to job seeking. So especially any areas they identify as maybe weaknesses. So whether that's resume writing or interview skills, working on job searching and job applications, but also just making sure that we're really assisting in the places that folks feel the least confident and making sure that we can hopefully improve that confidence and maybe also their independence when it comes to their job search.
And Jeannie, how do you get to know people and develop rapport with somebody?
I think that first conversation is really key. I like folks to kind of know that nothing's really off limits when we first talk. Maybe there are other resources or referrals that we're able to provide. It kind of opens the door for a more open conversation. We have intake questions, obviously, that we have to get answered, but we can also answer that in a way to make it a little bit more conversational and learn as much as we can about folks. I find that often folks are so excited to get started that they're going to tell you a lot in that first meeting. And so then, just kind of being willing to listen as much as we're guiding the conversation through our intake questions and really getting a sense of where the client feels they want to go and also some of the challenges that the client can foresee in their job search are all like really helpful things to start out that relationship.
And even before that first meeting, what are some important things that you let job seekers know before meeting with them?
Yeah, I think a really important one is sometimes there's the perception that we have placement directly into jobs, that we have maybe a list of jobs and we kind of pull one off a board and we can magically put somebody in that. We call up Bob at such and such company and you're working in 2 weeks. So that's the first thing that I address with people very upfront. And I like to be really transparent about I don't have a guarantee of how long it's going to take. I don't even necessarily have a 100% guarantee that you will find employment through this process. But what I can promise is that I will stand by your side and support you through each step of this process. And as some of those challenges come up, we can tackle them together. I like to think of myself as an additional person in somebody's support network. And ideally, we're out here with other organizations as well, right? So we can work in tandem with other agencies that folks may be working with, or if folks have a case open with the state, or just other friends and family, networking, mentors. So it's a team effort.
And can you tell us about a job seeker or a couple job seekers that you've worked with who have faced multiple barriers and have had different kinds of challenges, but who have experienced success working with you?
Yeah, so 2 come to mind. I worked with a job seeker who didn't have his high school diploma, had a criminal background, and had a physical disability. That was a challenge. I mean, we had to just work diligently. We met week after week. He showed an incredible amount of commitment and dedication to his job search and was really open. Some folks don't want to travel very far, and despite some of the challenges that he would face traveling, he would be willing to go really great distances if there was an opportunity. We had a situation with an employer where we had an interview date, a working interview set up, and he traveled, a really long way to make that happen. That didn't end up being the right opportunity, but that kind of commitment and that ability to, kind of the unwillingness to give up or the unwillingness to let any of those barriers hold him down, I mean, that really, I think, made all the difference. And I also work with another job seeker who was deaf but became deaf later in life and doesn't use sign language. And so there's a lot of writing back and forth and things that have to happen to communicate. And he had actually retired and he had, been out of the workforce a little while, wasn't super technologically savvy. So a lot of what we were working on was that a lot of folks are going to want to do a Zoom interview as their screening interview. And so that was a real challenge. So we spent a lot of time playing around in the computer lab. I was in my office and he was just down the way in the computer lab, which was very funny for everyone to hear us trying to communicate back and forth, trying to make sure that we could get him familiarized with that technology. And that really helped. But just the constant showing up for the appointments, the constant application, I just think that consistency and the willingness to be open to different opportunities when they present themselves can make a huge difference, even when folks are facing a lot of challenges.
That's great, Jeannie. Have you had to work with people kind of navigating the reasonable accommodation process? Do some people have no idea what kind of reasonable accommodations they would even need in order to be successful?
Yeah, I think it really depends. Some job seekers have been at this a while and they have a very locked down list of exactly what they would need to be successful. and maybe they're looking for something exactly in the same industry they used to be in. And so they really just have a really strong sense of what they would need. I've just starting to meet with 2 different clients in the past couple of weeks who both are coming back into the workforce after having been disabled. I met with a woman recently who used to do manual labor and, is no longer in a position to do that. And so she is really grappling with I don't know what a reasonable accommodation would look like for me because I don't even know what jobs I'm looking for yet because the things I did before are just not going to be a fit anymore. Working through that together, I think, is really important. And I always tell clients that you don't have to know right now. We could look through a job description and then that might give you a sense of what you might need. There's been a couple folks that communicated back and forth with as they were navigating that process. So it was also interesting for me because I got to learn a little bit more about the employer's end of the process and what that can look like. So that was helpful too, just for any future folks that might look for employment with that employer to have a sense of what that would look like.
So, Jeannie, what do you enjoy most about your job and working at MOPD?
I like being part of client support network. I love the team. The team is great and we really enjoy each other's company and we lean on each other when we need support for different challenges because the work can be challenging even though it's so rewarding. And so being able to kind of share the highs and the lows together is really important.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jeannie. Thank you for sharing about your experience and all of the advice and insight that you have to offer as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our episode of All Access. We were really excited to talk to the Career Center team. We are very proud of them and all of the hard work that they do. We hope that you have all learned something about the MOPD Career Center, whether you're a job seeker or you're a community partner or even someone who is an employer who would like to work with us. We would really look forward to hearing from any of you.
And thank you, Lauren, for all your leadership and hard work. The Career Center is very lucky to have you as their program director.
Thank you, Christina.
We also want to share some news about an upcoming MOPD event. On February 7th, we will host our first hybrid event, our February Access Forum, which will highlight various conversations with community organizations such as the RTA, Equip for Equality. We'll also have the opportunity to hear from the Department of Procurement Services about ways to become a business enterprise owned by a person with a disability. We will also wrap up the day with a conversation from Jocelyn Ramasanta, who you heard from earlier in this podcast, about benefits counseling, and then our MOPD programs and services. So it's a packed day. Feel free to visit our website or check out our social media to register for the event. You could either come in person or attend online. And we want to make sure that we are as accessible as possible for this event, so please be sure to note any type of accessibility you will need. We will have ASL interpretation and real-time captioning available.
Excellent. Well, we hope that you can join us for that upcoming event. And please, of course, check us out on social media under All Access. And stay tuned for our next episode in February, which we are already looking forward to.
So thanks for joining. I'm your host, Christina McLean.
And I am Lauren Huberman.
Special thanks to our executive producer, Rachel Arfa, as well as a big thank you to the City of Chicago's production team.
And finally, our MOPD Career Center team. Thank you so much. Signing off.